I want to play this moment from the officer's cell phone video.
Get out of the car.
Is that Agent Ross's voice calling Renee Good a
I can't determine which one it is, but it could be, sir.
CNN's Jake Tapper goes after Kristi Noem pretty hard as a result of this tragic incident between ICE and the woman in Minneapolis. And Kristi Noem sometimes stands up for the ICE agent and explains more about the situation than the liberal media wants us to know. But a lot of her answers and the way she delivers them are nothing compared to the masterclass we saw from J.D. Vance the other day at the White House press briefing. And it's educational to go through this interview to see how she functions as the Secretary of Homeland Security, the leader of protecting the homeland, and understand that this is the leader and representative for all these ICE agents that are dealing with crap every single day. It's itsSeanDaniel here. I think this will make you guys question a few things that ICE agents deal with and how they must feel by hearing their leader speak like this in not the most motivating or captivating or leadership way.
You've also been criticized for your comments. The shooting, we should note, was Wednesday at 10:37 a.m. Eastern. Just over 2 hours later, the Department of Homeland Security put out a statement definitively asserting what had happened, defending the ICE agent, accusing Renee Good of domestic terrorism. That's a characterization that you reiterated in a press conference half an hour later. Now, Republican Senator Tom Tillis said, quote, "It was very unusual to have a senior law enforcement official to draw a conclusion about an event where the scene was still being processed. Generally speaking, law enforcement would recognize that a life was lost, that families are changed forever, the shooter's life will change forever. We're collecting video, we're trying to assess the situation." Why did you not wait for an investigation before making your comments?
Well, everything that I've said has been proven to be factual and the truth. This administration wants to operate in transparency. I have the responsibility as the Secretary of Homeland Security to know this information as soon as possible. Had just been in Minneapolis the day before, had already had conversations with officers on the ground and supervisors, and knew the facts, and decided that the department and the people of this country deserve to know the truth of the situation of what had unfolded in Minneapolis.
But with all due respect, Secretary, the first thing you said was, quote, "What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow." Correct. Because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and rammed them with her vehicle. Mm-hmm. That's not what happened. We all saw what happened.
It absolutely is what happened. Those officers had been out in enforcement action. A vehicle had been stuck. They had come to help get that vehicle out. That's when this individual started blocking traffic for minutes and minutes.
You said that the woman attacked them and surrounded them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
Blocked the road for a long time and was yelling at them and impeding a federal law enforcement investigation. And that's what you need to focus on, Jake, is they were breaking the law by impeding and obstructing a law enforcement operation. They were breaking the law already, and these officers were doing their due diligence of what their training had prepared them to do to make sure they were handling it appropriately.
You said within hours of her being killed, you said that she was a domestic terrorist. How do you define domestic terrorist?
She weaponized her vehicle to conduct an act of violence against a law enforcement officer and the public. They are doing that.
How can you assert with certainty that she was trying to hurt the officer as opposed to she was trying to flee the scene?
If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
Okay, maybe this is why Kristi Noem doesn't do the greatest job as the Secretary of Homeland Security. She's not that exciting, motivating. She feels very robotic, even though she's pointing out that the ICE agent, acted in defense and this lady was trying to impede federal agents and didn't want to follow orders. She instead tried to flee, which was ridiculous. Kristi Noem really needs to work on improving the way she communicates, and I don't know if she's got it in her to communicate in a more commanding way. You're the leader of the Homeland Security, and ICE agent just had this tragic incident with this woman and the ICE agents. It's got all this national attention, taking all the attention away from the Somali fraud. And she sounds like a robot to me. She does not have conviction in her voice like J.D. Vance does when he had his White House press briefing, which we covered previously. And she's in charge of protecting the nation, the director of Homeland Security, the secretary. Have a little more jazz, Kristi.
The question is, I don't doubt, my position is, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Some people say that it clearly showed that she was trying to hit him and did. Some people say, no, she was clearly trying to move her car and flee and get away. I don't know. What I'm saying is, how do you know? How can you assert for a fact within hours, before any investigation, this is what happened?
The facts of the situation are that the vehicle was weaponized and it attacked the law enforcement officer. He defended himself and he defended those individuals around him. That is the definition. When there is something that is weaponized to use against the public and law enforcement, that is an act of domestic terrorism. It happened in our shores. It happened here in our country. You don't get to change the facts just because you don't like them. We will continue to look at this individual and what her motivations were. We know that there was, throughout that morning, she had harassed and impeded law enforcement operations. That raises the suspicion level with all of these law enforcement officers as far as paying attention to what her capacity is. And as you see on the videos, and they've proven out, that this law enforcement officer took the action that his training prepared him for, and he worked to make sure that he could save his own life and those around him.
That's a good point she makes. If they were observing how she was acting before, you know that influences their judgment on how she or the car she's in are going to move and function, and what they possibly might be doing when they disobey a possible order by the ICE agents to say, hey, stop, stop, stop. What are you doing? They get out their car, they walk towards her. And if they've seen that not only she tried to impede traffic, but maybe she was doing something else before, we don't know if that's true, that's going to influence the decision-making that the ICE agents make, especially once she starts to drive away when they're coming to her vehicle. We've learned this time and time again. If you have law enforcement, just treat them with respect. If you have them coming up to you wanting something, just treat them with respect. They're already dealing with so many agitators. Why would you want to make the situation worse by trying to flee or trying to run them over when anything can be interpreted as negative when there's so many heightened tension situations between ICE agents and civilians? Just respect the officers.
How can you assert that there's no ambiguity in this before any investigation has taken place?
I had just been in Minneapolis and had been with those officers, had seen what they were facing on the streets every day, and had talked to their supervisors as soon as the incident happened and had gotten the facts and seen videos before I ever went to talk at that press conference. And the Trump administration and President Trump is the most transparent and open government that we've ever had. Give the public the information, give them what they need to know about a situation so they can have the truth as soon as possible.
So if this agents were perfectly fine, if everything he did was accurate, does that mean that other ICE agents should
He
look
wasn't
at what...
perfectly fine. He was injured. He went to the hospital.
No,
He
his
was
actions
treated.
were fine. I didn't say...
In fact, I think a lot of people and guests, and even you yourself, called this situation something very different and untruthful about what it was, as far as...
What did I say that was untruthful?
That this was not a correct definition of what was happening on the ground.
I said that your description, they were attempting to push out their vehicle and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle, is not what we see on the videotape, and it's not.
It absolutely is the facts of what happened on the ground that day. They were there pushing out a vehicle earlier. They had helped each other.
But that's not what you said. That's not what you said.
Yes,
they were pushing out a vehicle.
Absolutely what I said. There's not one.
We all have seen the video. I don't need to relitigate it. We've all seen the video. She is blocking the street. They approach her.
You haven't seen the video of the entire morning and the previous encounters with this individual.
Oh, we have aired it. Yes, we have. On Thursday, we were airing and noting the fact that she was there for several minutes, for minutes and minutes and minutes. She was protesting without question.
And at previous locations that morning, that these vehicles had been previously down the block on video that you haven't seen. There's more information
but
that this individual was impeding law enforcement operations throughout the previous moments and hours before this incident
The question is, what was she doing when she was moving her car?
The question
That's the question.
Is why are we arguing with a president who's working to keep people safe? Why are we arguing?
This response by Kristi Noem is my problem with her. Why are we questioning and arguing with a president that's fighting to keep people safe? We can question things that go on, even if we love Trump, even if we believe that ICE was in the right, even if we understand that ICE is dealing with so much BS. She gives us these gaslight statements. Why are we questioning the president who's trying to keep us safe? We can question what goes on, Kristi. I think she's way too political, way too much of a politician with some of her answers instead of being real. Like that J.D. Vance masterclass we saw was so much better than some of the answers she gives. She's in a really tough situation. She's got to watch everything she says. I have no idea the pressure of what it's like to be on CNN and deal with this in a national crisis situation. But her answers, it's just so cheerleady for Trump without like addressing. Come on, Kristi.
Why are we arguing with law enforcement operations that have gone on in this country for years, and we're working to collect murderers and rapists and drug traffickers and fraudsters off the streets of Minnesota, and we don't have local law enforcement and local elected officials that are partnering with us to help do that work? Overwhelmingly, the people in this country said they wanted America to be safe again, that they didn't want dangerous criminals on our streets. I would encourage the elected leaders in that city and in that state to work with us so that we can do our operations without the kind of opposition and people that are conducting and perpetuating the kind of violent rhetoric that we're seeing today.
Now, this is a good point that she makes. Why isn't the local government officials, police, willing to work with ICE? Because they should. It would make everything a lot smoother, a lot safer for the community, a lot less problem situations like Tom Homan's talked about. We've talked about this 1,000 times on the channel. Now, this is a good point.
DHS policy authorizes use of deadly force only, quote, when no reasonably effective, safe, and feasible alternatives appears to exist. Could he not have just gotten out of the way?
This individual and this officer is a highly experienced law enforcement officer. He has years of training and specialized training for these types of situations. We're grateful that he's alive. It's a tragic situation, and we're going to continue to work on the investigation into the individual and find out what the motivations were behind her actions that day.
We're grateful that, that he's alive, too. I want to play this moment from the officer's cell phone video.
Get out of the car.
Is that Agent Ross's voice calling Renee Good a
I can't determine which one it is, but it could be, sir.
What? That's the video footage they have? Oh my God, I gotta play that again. Oh my God, how did CNN obtain this?
We're grateful that, that he's alive, too. I want to play this moment from the officer's cell phone video.
Get out of the car.
Is that Agent Ross's voice calling Renee Good a
Oh my, and Jake Tapper had the balls to say the F word on CNN. Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at Kristi trying to hold back the smirk. Watch. Right here. Oh.
Here's what Vice President Vance said about the incident this week.
That very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile?
If this is relevant, first of all, it's horrible that that happened. If it's relevant, which the Vice President seems to think it is, do you think this understandably very traumatic event that this officer went through last June might have influenced, as the Vice President is suggesting happened, how he responded?
Now, there's no indication to that, but the facts are is that we've seen vehicles weaponized over 100 times in the last several months against our law enforcement officers. So they definitely know that the threat is real, that individuals who are trained by activists to go out and to impede their law enforcement operations will weaponize their vehicles and try to run them over and drag them and not stop. So they certainly go into these situations with that knowledge that that could happen, and that's what their training prepares them for.
You see the difference between J.D. Vance bringing this up about what the ICE agent went through and Kristi Noem speaking like a damn robot? If I'm an ICE agent and my head of my agency or my area of the U.S. government is Kristi Noem, she represents me, she's talking about me on TV, I'm an ICE agent who has to deal with people being pissed at me all the time, people throwing stuff at me, and this is who I have defending myself, standing up for myself. This is my leader. I'm not really motivated by the way that she fights for me or defends me or stands up for me. She sounds like a damn robot. And then when you listen to J.D. Vance, not only does he make logical points, but he's also motivating, passionate, excited. She sounds like she's reading off a paper, while one of her agents, by the way, just dealt with a traumatic thing. Look at the difference in leadership. Not saying I know what it's like to be in that position, not saying I'm an expert on it. I'm just reading from this perspective. here watching these videos, thinking about being an ICE agent, thinking about all the stuff I got to deal with, and then thinking about my leaders representing me, talking about me and my situation. And I have a robot in Kristi Noem, and then I have a fiery masterclass man in JD Vance. This would be so disappointing for me. And I bet you a lot of ICE agents just know that she's just a figurehead, you know? Trump put her in this position for some reason. She's not really that motivating. She doesn't really fit with the strong figure of defending the homeland. So disappointing. It's Sean Daniel here. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to continue the Sunday marathon, check out this video right here. And let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys agree or do you guys disagree? See you in the next one.